Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can't hear you.
Aye, aye, Captain!
Oh!
Alrighty, you ready, kiddies? Spongebob SquarePants Battle for the Bikini Bottom has finally been rehydrated. So, since I made it publicly known that I liked that game, I thought I ought to go and check this recreation out. So I ordered it by snail mail for the Switch, and don't get the Switch version. Get any version but the Switch version. I'll explain why later. Now, I'm not going to get into what exactly Battle for Bikini Bottom is, for I already have a 30-minute video doing exactly that. But it's 30 minutes, so to summarize, BFBB was a surprisingly great 3D collectathon platformer from the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, where SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy had to collect golden spatulas in order to fight off a horde of Plankton's out-of-control robots that are destroying every facet of our beloved titular underwater setting. To quote myself, it has tight and satisfying gameplay, good level design, creative ideas, faithfulness towards the source material, a good touch of challenge, and basically, being rock solid as a video game. I'd say it's one of the best licensed games you could find, so much so that there are people out there clamoring for a remake, one that I thought had a solid 0% chance of happening, but somehow, some way, Nickelodeon, THQ Nordic, and Purple Lamp Studios listened and delivered. Anyways, the main purpose of this video is to see what they changed, what they added, what they messed up, and if it's a suitable remaster, possibly one that I could recommend over the original. Heads up, I'm going to try to keep this video lightly edited so I can get it out in a timely manner. I mean, I got the thing in my mail like a week late, and I've been pushing playing it because, well, I had the worst time trying to get it to freaking record. Freaking Elgato, I can't see the screen, so I can't tell if I'm recording. I had to play freaking Jellyfish Fields like 2.5 times. So, I hope you don't mind just seeing my playthroughs of the first 3 levels with only minimal cuts and screenshots that showcase what I'm actually talking about, because I played the rest in handheld mode. I probably could have gotten more footage of the late game if they only allowed the native video recording so that I could clip SpongeBob taking a colossal butt-shattering dump, but we can only dream. Excuse my immaturity, let's just dive right in. Alright, from the offset, just by looking at preview gameplay, I knew this game was going to irk me a bit with its, how should I say this, game feel. A word that's kind of hard to explain, yet is, well, kind of self-explanatory. Here's an example. OG Spyro feels like a supercharged baby rhino, like an RC car or a rock that goes fast and yet can fly high, while Reignited Spyro feels like a deer galloping and him being light on his feet. Basically, it's how the game feels, something extremely important when it comes to platformers, and something that BFBB nailed. Honestly, even if a remake is supposed to be one-to-one, feeling a little bit different isn't a deal breaker, and it's more than welcome if the controls and flows are improved because of it. Concerning SpongeBob and the original BFBB, he felt, well, kinda like this.
Fresh like a spring breeze.
He felt like a continuously propelling force that can smash through enemies and tikis effortlessly. Here in Rehydrated, he's kind of the same, but there's like a snag and a chunk when attacking things. And yeah, there's just an overall chunkiness now. And it kind of makes me more uneasy relying on his gimped jumping abilities, but thankfully, it's still good and satisfying to play in its own right, but there are like 3 to 4 elements, 2 of which are Switch exclusive, lucky me, that make it worse to play in my opinion. Well, somewhat. I mean, you can get used to these things, but I'd rather they not exist at all. Okay, first thing, it's weird. So in the OG, if you attack in the air, it will allow you to hover for a split second. Mind, that'll only work once. Which was without a doubt amazingly useful and satisfying to utilize. And I believe it's one of the core mechanics that gives this game such a great gameplay flow. Yes, they messed it up. It's like they try to rebalance it for some reason. Like, how do I explain this? Okay, so instead of simply allowing you to hover in the air to extend your distance and reorientate yourself, attacking in the air saves your vertical momentum for like that split second, though it doesn't seem to hold upward momentum, just downward. So if you rise and attack, you rising and attacking. If you falling and attacking, use attacking while falling. The only way to get it to work as it used to is attacking at the very peak of your jump. Why? Why make this more complicated and unreliable? Why try to needlessly change a fundamental game mechanic that didn't need changing? Well, at first, I was way angrier about this change, but then I got used to it and even found something interesting. You can double spin in the air now. Jump spin, then double jump spin. It's a thing now. You can go even farther than you could before, which may be why they rebalanced it, but I'm not sure. So the platforming is easier now, I guess. Maybe for the kids, but it's still complicated to pull off, though. I'm 50-50 on this now. It's weird. I'd rather have it just be the way it used to. It was way simpler, and I don't know. The second thing they did, which I don't think is as severe as the other three, but is giving me whiplash, they made attacks like the rising attack and the ground pounds more snappy. Yeah, they were unnecessarily long and ate time, but this just feels off, I guess, especially the rising attack. It just makes you go straight up then down. Like, I was hoping that the way they would change it is to have you be able to come out with more vertical momentum once you get out of the rising helmet attack or whatever, but oh well. They just made it faster to execute. This isn't really a bad change, it's just something personal. It's just a personal perk, I guess. Speaking of ground pounds, Patrick, they tweaked his flop. A single jump will just get you this butt bounce, and well, it's still fun and doesn't stick you to the ground, which actually improves his flow. Double jumping will then give you the normal flop we all know and love. Although it doesn't just like shift him into dead weight and just flop him there, it actually is more straight down like Spongebob's. So that kind of takes away the magic of it a little bit. I mean, I kind of liked him just going dead in the air, just attacking. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, but guess what they did? They now allowed him to attack in the air. Yes, that was an offhand comment I made on my last video. They actually gave him a mid-air attack. Great. It even pushes you forward a little bit. And plus, here's a secret pro tip. Combine that with the double spin, double jump technique I was talking about earlier, and you can clear this gap in Kelp Forest, which I hated so much. You know, the one in the cave where you had to find like 3 stone tikis or something and make them in. You can just jump over there. Just jump, belly thing, jump, belly attack again, and you can just barely make it. I love the fact that you can. Like, holy barnacle boys bat salts, Batman! I can't believe they made Patrick overall better. Plus, I love Patrick's design and model. He looks so happy. Did I just segue into talking about all of the characters? Well then, on to Sandy. She's alright, but she's got like the worst changes out of a bunch in my opinion. Attacking in the air won't hold her up anymore, like at all, and her lasso attack just squeezes enemies to death instead of slamming them against a wall. The worst change they did to her has to be the fact that her lasso hover, the sound effect, doesn't slow down anymore, which means you can't hear when you're about to run out. Though you can still get a feel of when it's going to stop by judging the time, but still, it's a step back. I don't know why they didn't implement that back in. Also, with the lasso swing points, you gotta hold down the button now or else you'll fall. I don't remember if you had to hold a button in the original or if you just pressed the button once, but my muscle memory's telling me the latter and it got me killed. So these fundamental control changes, while not good in my opinion, aren't too bad. Plus, SpongeBob and the gang still feel appropriate to their characters like the original pulled off. But if you got the Switch version, oh boy, you got a couple more things to consider. Alright, now for some Switch BS. First up is the fact that they mapped attack and jump to Y and A respectively. If you've seen my footage of me playing BFBB, you may notice that I jump and attack a lot, sometimes in unison. You would think, you would bet that it would be handy to have these two buttons right next to each other, right? You know, I can just move my thumb a little bit, like apply pressure and do it real quick. Nah, why would it? Y and A are both face buttons, they're not far. Yeah, it may not look far, but it feels far. Try playing a 2D Mario game using only Y and A. Okay, it's not that bad, but you can still feel the difference, right? From what I could tell, this is only on the Switch version. Why? Maybe they thought, oh, Nintendo players, they've been using A to jump since the beginning of time. Yeah, well, we've also been using B to attack. Even then, we Nintendo players have been adapting to press B to jump since the DS days. Thank Furukawa, you can change the button mapping on the Switch itself now. I recommend either this setup or this one. It's still a hassle and it doesn't change the icons, so I still advocate being given the option to button remap within the game options themselves. Still, it shouldn't have been a thing in the first place, just make jump B like in the other versions. You wanna know the weirdest thing? It's weird that they did that because they added in a small little change that, if I didn't ask for in my BFBB review, I meant to. You can jump cancel attacks, or you can jump while attacking now, not really canceling because you're still going around town. This is a small yet great change that I really wish the original had. Now I don't have to wait for the animation in if I need to jump immediately. This is a good fundamental change that's straight up superior to the original. Yay. I wish we had more of those. A real ruinous Switch exclusive quirk is that there's something wrong with the analog control. For some dumb reason, moving diagonally doesn't keep you at top speed. It literally slows you down to a crawl. What the heck? It took me 5 tries to do this easy section in SpongeBob's attic because I literally could not jump far enough due to the camera angle. Had to get into like a weird position or something. This is inexcusable. Does the Unreal Engine have some sort of like controller interface problem with the Switch's controller interface or something else technical that I don't know anything about? Oh, and FYI, this is not because of a Switch's infamous Joy-Con drift problem. I've talked with a couple of friends who have this game on the Switch, one of whom also has the Steam version, Brendan Blair 64. Go watch his video on this game. I'm sure he's going to go take a real deep dive into it. Also, Purple Streak's doing a series where he's looking at every SpongeBob game, which I recommend since y'all here. But yeah, we all tested different controllers, and we have concluded that this is indeed a Switch exclusive problem. Why is no one talking about this? Why has no one else noticed this? Platformers live and die on their controls, and this is an egregious oversight that better have been already patched by the time this video goes live. I mean, it's probably not too noticeable until you get to certain platforming sections. Heck, I mainly developed the habit of using my camera to turn my character, but still, I should not have to do this. Overall, do not give a Switch version, even though I'm sure most of you that were planning to already have. Oh well, let's just use this talking point to segue into bashing the Switch port. I'm not entirely sure if the other versions only experience some or most or all or if none of what the Switch version suffers, but I can probably take a guess that they suffer a little bit from poor optimizations or rush development or something. But what I do know is that the first 5 minutes of this game taught me that this was going to be a very polished experience. Like, holy texture poppin' Batman, this game is not optimized well at all. Model clipping, texture issues, and crazy glitches, oh my. The foliage draw distance is like within walking distance, at least in the more open stages. Sand Mountain, more like Frame Stutter Mountain, is the worst performing level of them all. Playing on my 1080p monitor, it looks like this game's locked at 720p and can only hold 30 FPS. Why am I even recording in 1080p 60 FPS? Waste of space. As I said, don't give a Switch version. Look, here's something they could have done to avoid the eyesore texture business every time you loaded into a new area. have the bubbles that appear before these really long load screens. Not the worst, maybe like 10 seconds, but dang, do not die in this game. These load times actually feel punishing. But yeah, as said, use the iconic bubble transition to wipe into the loading screen. Maybe one with painted bubbles instead of just this low feature stuff. And once the game deems the loading's complete and the world starts to load in, bubble transition out of the loading screen and into the world, and hopefully all the pop-in will be resolved by the time. Then start script or character control or whatever. See? Do it in all versions for consistency, and it will be a stylistic and practical solution to ensure the Switch port and lower-end PCs can seamlessly load the world. Anybody want to make a game with me? I can be more than just an ideas guy. Yeah, the Switch version is bad, though I bet the other higher-end versions have their own fair share of issues people will notice. The original obviously was not well polished, but, well, you can just conclude that just by looking at it. Third-party PS2 era games always looked kinda jank to me, but, I mean, in this remaster, on the surface, looks really polished, despite that not being the case at all. I will say this, if there's one thing this remake absolutely nails, it's the presentation. I mean, these graphics and the art direction, it looks like that new movie they're advertising, although personally, I'd like it to impersonate the show more. But still, this looks beautiful. The colors are vibrant, and you can make them more or less so. The character modeling is a mixed bag of mostly good to alright, I guess. Spongebob, design-wise, is more perfectly square than the slightly more vertical slice of cheese he used to be, both in the OG game and the early show. Now, I don't care about this, like in the movies or the show itself, because it's barely noticeable or even matters, but when I played this game, especially watching the cutscenes, I could tell that the proportions were off, so it kind of weirded me out a little bit. Something else that I love is the new talking animations for all the characters that dynamically match the dialogue. Like, they even sometimes hold props. Now, SpongeBob actually looks worried when addressing
King Jellyfish.
Now, here's one big change I asked for that I knew Nick would not allow to happen again, and that is to fix Mermaid Man's voice and get Clancy Brown to go and do Mr. Krabs' lines and...
SpongeBob, this flapping robot crisis is making the Krusty Krab lose money like a...
While the original recordings are great, and I think that they polished them up some, GG's audio engineers, they should have at least redone Mr. Krabs and Mermaid Man. I mean, why not? Is Clancy Brown asking for too much money again? Dang it, old man. Nickelodeon! Of all things, this was the biggest change I wanted. Oh well. Let's talk about some minute changes now. Well, only a few, as if I were to go into all the differences, I'd probably be nitpicking forever. Okay, they added a buttload of new references. Some awesome, some cringe, and some missed opportunities.
Krabs is
No more inverted camera controls, even for the cruise bubble. Yes! I mean, that change was a given, but I'm still happy about it. The audio balancing isn't as bad. The game's more heavy with the tutorials, being somewhat more hand-holdy, but I mean, it's nothing too intrusive. One thing that might be a little too intrusive is the fact that all the projectiles have this red marker showing where they're going to land. I mean, it kind of makes the game unnecessarily easier, but it was kind of a crapshoot in the original, so yeah, I'm kind of appreciative of that. They got all the Tiki types at the start so you can familiarize with them quicker. I would also like to say that there is just a disgusting amount of idle animations for SpongeBob, and also the other characters, and I am genuinely surprised and impressed. Good job, animation team, for putting a lot of cool effort and detail into these things I'm pretty sure most people would never find. There's a dabbing fish NPC. On the topic, but one odd thing I meant to ask about the original is, why are there just random citizens sometimes just walking around in the middle of nowhere? Like, I understand why they're into like the more populated places like Sand Mountain and downtown Bikini Bottom, but sometimes they're just like lost in nature. Like, what are y'all doing in this cave? Well, maybe they're taking refuge from the robot crisis, and that would make sense. Speaking of lost in nature, Kelp Forest is now at an acceptable default brightness. Surprisingly, Rock Bottom feels less broken, like you can't jump on the window to skip the wall jump and there's an invisible wall to stop a sequence break with a slide I showed in my review. Jellyfish Rock's engraved sign isn't solid anymore, which got me killed. They remastered the music, so I've been told. I mean, I don't know if he recreated it from scratch or just touched up the audio files, but I mean, it sounds the exact same to me, but maybe hardcore fans can tell you the difference. All the robots now have Spongetron's laugh, I think, if you get hit. They put a wall on Patrick's void now, so I can't get lost in it. I found that in the original, they'll dim the center and then teleport you to the other side of the map, so that's kind of cool little trivia. It now takes more money to get Mr. Krabs' spatulas. Like, why? I hate the grinding already. I mean, it was already too high in my opinion, at least in conjunction with a theater. Also, don't get me started. The theater is a ripoff. It now only has like 6 screenshots of a game, which is stupid. Like, not even new concept art. And it's still 40,000 things. Ugh! Good thing I copied my save file before going in there. So yes, Spongebob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. It's kind of a disappointment. They didn't change things that needed changing, they changed things that didn't need changing, and they brought new problems into the mix. And the version I played was measurably the worst one. But they did make changes that needed changing. They added things that made it better. And it looks drop dead gorgeous. I know I spent the majority of this video trashing it, but I don't think it's bad as a standalone game per se. I mean, if you consciously buy it over the original, I ain't losing sleep. It still recreates many of the things that made the original so fun and upped the presentation to breathtaking heights. It just introduced many new unnecessary pitfalls and probably just needed more time in the oven. I just personally think it's mostly fails as a remake. Plus, I'm sure my exposure to the worst version and the misadventures of trying to record it has instilled in me more ire than I should have. It's passable, it's playable, it's still enjoyable. I mean, after playing it to completion, I've gotten used to the weird new control hiccups and the poor performance, and in the end, it's still a fancy, fun, and functional incarnation of the excellent BFBB that we all know and love. Though personally, I'd rather play the original. But you know what the remake has that the original doesn't? Horde mode. Horde mode with multiplayer. Horde mode with online multiplayer. Boy! I'm ready. I'm ready. My internet connection's probably not ready.
I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. No.
Oh. Ah. Oh.
No. What? Only 2 players? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if this was like supposed to be 4 players at some point, but probably just had to scrap it. I mean, it's still cool that there's still a bunch of characters to choose from. And they all pretty much have the same abilities as base SpongeBob, double jump, attack, and a ground pound. But they all have different attacks, like main attacks, many of which are references to the show, and some being better than others, like Roboplankton and Squidward having just straight up projectiles. Maybe they're like all variations of like Patrick and Sandy and SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Oh, I died.
Oh, you died.
I died! SpongeBob is dead.
From what I've seen, this mode isn't great, but I love the references. Like, Mr. Krabs' attack is that fish head from the... he was #1, that episode.
Schmitty Werbenjager Man Jensen.
I can't remember the name. I'm impressed you can.
I remembered it solely for the meme. Hey, remember when like some single player focused games like Sonic Hero or probably as recent as Pikmin 3 like had tacked on multiplayer modes that you still wanted to play with your friends but they didn't know how to play, so it'd just be like meh, and you wished you would just get like online multiplayer. Yeah, this heavily reminds me of that. Look at all these options like LAN, host a LAN game, public, private server. What is this, an FPS? Ow.
Oh,
ow. Oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot. Oh shoot, oh crap. Oh, it's him. It's him. Oh look, it's the cut Robo Squidward boss. Yeah, that's another thing I'm kind of disappointed with. I wish there was more of a cut beta stuff in the main game, which they said they were going to do. Give me Glove World. Give me Patrick's original dream! But I just think they just remixed all those ideas into this game mode, and that's fine. I mean, it's a neat novelty. They didn't have to do this. Alright, back on Candy Island again. Are these onions?
Yeah, I think so. Oh,
That might be from the
Isn't there
Bad Breath
episode where
episode.
SpongeBob does that? Where he makes a sundae and it's got like onions and stuff and it makes his breath gross. The one where he thinks he's ugly. Maybe it's a
At first I
reference
thought they
to
were like
that.
some kind of candy or cookie or something, but nah, they're onions. This game mode itself is honestly nothing special. At first I thought it was going to be like a survival horde mode, like see how many waves you can survive and also throw bosses in there every once in a while, but nope. The main goal of the game is to island hop, like hop from island to island, beating every enemy that spawns, and you get infinite retries. So yeah, if you both die at the same time, the wave just resets. Just keep doing this for 26 islands. Yes, 26 of them. This mode is long. This is a 50-minute campaign. Also, good luck finding an open public game. This mode is definitely just like a one and done type of thing. It's honestly kind of boring, especially sort of after like the first 10 minutes. It just really becomes an unnecessarily long slog. But it does get more fun towards the end when they just throwing like 20 or so enemies on screen at once with electric attacks just going off all over the place, and the camera plots against you, and then the game just starts chugging on top of a lag, and it gets to be like 5 frames per second. It's like, just look at this chaos. It's great. I just go in spamming the attack button, and I pray I come out the other end with only my fists bloody. Alright, so here's a funny story. Okay, that was weird looking. I always thought that Arf had like a sombrero. Like, it looks a lot more like a sombrero than a 10-gallon hat in the original. But if you actually look at it, it is a 10-gallon hat. And I thought it was sombrero, and I thought they censored it for this game.
I mean, until you just said it, I assumed it was a sombrero. Until you just said it now.
It looks like it was like made out of, I don't know, basket weave in the original. It looked weird. And you usually only saw it from head on, so you didn't realize it was more thin from at the front. Sombreros are perfectly round. These were like kind of more fedora-like. I mean, it's exaggerated, but yeah. So yeah, that's SpongeBob BFBB Rehydrated. It looks better, plays different. Yep. More videos upcoming. So subscribe, like, and stay tuned until next time. I'll see you next time. So, see ya.